Today is Father's Day, and I'm grateful for the chance to speak to the fathers. There's no way for me to properly express how important your role is in society and in your families. Dads, we need you. We desperately need you. And whether you came from a really good, godly home and you had a dad that was there for you, or you had an absentee father, or you had an abusive situation that you came out of, it really doesn't matter. We all do understand the importance of a godly father. No matter what background you came from, we all know a godly father is a necessary part of our lives, and it's so important. The message today is going to easily apply to every person here. So ladies, if you came, you're like, oh man, it's a guy message today. I promise you this message applies to every one of us, but it does have a specific application to fathers. Dads carry certain stereotypes. They may tell you to rub some dirt on it when you fall and hurt yourself. That might be our medical expertise in play at that point. Rub some dirt on it. If your leg falls off, we tell you to walk it off. It's all right. We just power through, walk it off. They might be you might be a dad that's known for the dad jokes. And those are painful sometimes, you know. But even I've given a few of those every once in a while. Like, that was terrible. And I'm going to do it again. And I'm probably just going to keep getting worse. It's going to get worse and worse. But we're known for the dad jokes. We're known for our medical expertise to rub some dirt on it or walk it off. You might even be known for the person who can fix anything with duct tape. That might be the dad you are. Duct tape fixes everything. We'll just stop there before we get to the truth of it. But duct tape's really important stuff. And a lot of dads fall into that stereotype. Maybe you're the dad who actually can fix everything. Maybe you're the dad who thinks they can fix everything, but we all fall into a stereotype somewhere. But today I want to give the fathers a different kind of image. I want you to fall into a different stereotype altogether. In the story of the prodigal son, we hear the story of the prodigal son a lot in church because there's so much packed into that story. But in the story of the prodigal son, we have two different scenarios going on. But there's also a constant that bridges both scenarios. We've got an older son, you've got a younger son, but we have a constant that bridges both of these stories. Let's take a look at the story and let's break it down this morning. Starting in Luke chapter 15 and starting in verse 11, says then he said, a certain man had two sons. And the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the portion of goods that falls to me. So he divided to them his livelihood. This dad has two boys. He's got an older son and he's got the younger son. The youngest son wants to receive his inheritance early. Dad, give me my inheritance now. You didn't get your inheritance until the father dies. So there's a hidden message there that the younger son is kind of given to the dad there. I want what I would have if you were no longer here. Would you please give me my inheritance early? I want my inheritance now. The older son doesn't ask for a thing. He's in the story, but he doesn't speak up at all here. But notice that both sons get their inheritance early. It says the father divided to them his livelihood. Both of these sons get the inheritance early. Both sons have everything the father has to give, including what he should have given to them, they should have received after he died. They both get everything. You have all his love, you've got everything he has to offer you, but you also get your inheritance early. The younger son decides to do something that would naturally break his father's heart. He leaves with his inheritance and forsakes his father. Now the younger son, who was on the scene, is now nowhere to be seen. He leaves this scenario altogether. Look at verse 13. And not many days after, the younger son gathered all together, journeyed to a far country, and there wasted his possessions with prodigal living. But when he had spent all, there arose a severe famine in the land, and he began to be in want. Then he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country, and he sent him into the fields to feed swine. And he would have gladly have filled his stomach with the pods that the swine ate, and no one gave him anything. The dad gave his son all that he had to give, and he went out and he wasted it with sinful choices, with prodigal living. He blew all the money. I know of people, as soon as they get money in their hands, it's gone. And maybe it's gone on food or something that's just that temporary, but it's gone. You get a good chunk of money and you go live it up, and then you're sitting there wishing you had some money to live on. That's what this guy's like. He just burns it all. Now, before we get too far into the sermon, I want to point out that the father had a helper in the story. A lot of times we don't see the helper, but he's in the story. We notice the two sons and the dad. We see those characters right away, but there is one other person who's assisting with the father's side of the parable as well. The helper is the one who sent the famine. God he's got the father's back here. The father didn't send the salmon. That's a different sermon. That's the Jonah. Go to the book of Jonah. You'll read that one. He didn't send the famine. The sons didn't cause the famine. It was God. God's the one that brought the famine to the situation. There's nothing the guy can do. He's lost all his money. He doesn't have food. It says he wishes he could eat what the pigs were eating, but no one would even offer him that. He didn't even have that. All he's got is a famine. Well, there's one person that sent that, and that's God. God's got Dad's back in the story. We don't pick up on that a lot, but God's all over this. God's got the father's back. Something had to wake this kid up. Something had to get his attention. So God sends him a wake-up call of his life. He'll never forget this wake-up call. He takes him to rock bottom. And by the way, God is happy to do that for any one of us. You're like, how can a loving God let us hit rock bottom? He's a really loving God. And he will love you all the way to rock bottom, and he will climb back up with you. But he loves you more than to leave you in a bad situation. So he'll allow your situation to get to the point where you're actually looking for him, and a lot of times that's rock bottom. So God does love us enough to take us to rock bottom. He will do that, and that's what he does for this guy. Takes him to rock bottom. He's now in a situation where he's jealous of what the pigs have. Think about that for a second. The pigs are eating, and this kid's like, man, I just wish I had a life like them. I wish their life was my life. These are pigs. They're eating pods, and this kid's saying, man, I just wish I had it that good. He is seriously at rock bottom. I want you to see what he thought of when he was sitting at this low place in life. He has a thought, and there's one thought that his mind goes to, and I want you to pick up on what this thought is. Look at verse 17. But when he came to himself, he said, how many of my father's hired servants have bread enough to spare, and I perish with hunger? I will arise and go to my father, and I will say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you, and I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants. The first thing this young man thinks about when he's envious of the pig's lifestyle is how he knew his father was still out there. He remembers Dad. That's his first thought. Man, I want to be with Dad. I just want to be back with Dad. He may have not have felt worthy to be his dad's son at this point because he's just taken all the money. He's wasted everything. He's just out there. He wasted it on sinful things. He just took all the pleasures that sin had to offer. He's blown all his money. Now he's sitting there envious of the pigs. And the first thought he has is, I just want to be back with Dad. I know my dad's still out there. God altered the circumstances to get this son back to the place where he could repent. And it worked. It worked. He's ready to go back home. He's ready to repent. He finally started to see his dad as he should have seen him the whole time. My dad loved me. He took care of me. Everything I had back at home was because my dad offered that to me. I had it all. Now I have nothing. I just want to go back home. And if I could just go back home as a servant, I would take it because I'd still be with Dad. I'd still be there. He overlooked how good his dad really was in the whole situation the whole time. I didn't ever take into consideration how great my dad was. We might not have got along all the time, but he was always there. He was there for me. Look at verse 20. And he arose and came to his father. But when he was still a great way off, his father saw him and had compassion, and ran and fell on his neck and kissed him. And the son said to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and in your sight, and am no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his servants, Bring out the best robe and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand and sandals on his feet. And bring the fatted calf here and kill it, and let us eat and be merry. For this my son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found, and they began to be merry. A lot of things changed for this young man, but one thing remained constant. It didn't matter what choices he made in his life, his dad was still there. The dad loved him at the beginning of the story. He has now wasted everything, chose a rough lifestyle, came back, and dad still loves him. That love is constant all the way through the story. But this son, his life, we don't think about what happens after we read a lot. We read in the scripture, and then as soon as the chapter ends, we're done thinking about it. This guy, his life just got a lot harder. Think about the younger son's situation. His life just got so much harder because of the situation he chose for himself. Moving forward, he wasn't going to have the financial cushion that he had at the beginning of the story. He had all that financial cushion. Now he doesn't have that anymore. Moving forward, you don't have that. Dad gave you everything. He gave you his whole inheritance. Now you've blown that. The rest of your life, you don't get to fall back on that financial cushion. If he wanted something, he was going to have to work hard for it. He was going to have to earn it. He just blew it. And the rest of his life is going to be tough compared to what he could have had if he would have just honored what his dad gave him and honored his father by the way he lived his life. He didn't do that, though. He wasted it. So now, moving forward, after you read the story of the prodigal son, think about what comes next. That's a bumpy road for the younger son because he's already gotten rid of everything he was able to fall back on. He wasted an amazing gift, and now he has nothing to show for it. His choices have made the rest of his life difficult, but they did not change the father's character. Dad's characteristics still stay the same all the way through this. Dad's still there. His son had a lot to learn, and apparently this guy was one of those people that have to learn the hard way. You just have to learn the hard way. And dads, that is not a choice you get to make for your kids. Please take this in, because I thought about this as a father. If your kids make mistakes or make bad decisions in life, as dads, don't we carry the burden? We carry that burden on ourselves. We don't get to make that choice. Some people have to learn the hard way. Some people take wisdom and they listen to the instruction of their parents. But some people have to learn the hard way, and they go down that rough road. And dads, that's not a choice you get to make. So it's not a burden you should ever have to carry. Sometimes people insist on learning things the hard way, but that's the choice of the individual, not the choice of the parent. Your kids are people. God created them as individuals, and they get to make individual choices. Dads have a tendency to carry the burden of the failures of their children. They think that's a failure of their own because their kids turned out a certain way. Moms do this also. It's not your burden to carry. Please don't carry that burden. It's their choices. Children sometimes go in the opposite way that you teach them to go. But one day they remember. One day it all comes back. But you get to watch them hit rock bottom for a while, and that's a tough thing to watch your kid do. People mess up in life. Sometimes they make poor decisions. They just need to know that when they come back, you're still going to be there. Even after their dumb decisions, you're still going to be there for them. You're still their dad. You're still their mom. They know they can come home. If they choose to turn back around, you're still there. This is who the father is in this story. He's still there. Even after all the bad decisions were made, the son knew dad's still going to be there. What's he thinking about when he hits rock bottom? Dad. I want to go back to dad. Because even though I made bad choices, he still loves me. I know he's still going to be there. This is when the other scenario shows up in the story. We've seen the younger son's scenario. He comes home, dad throws a party for him. I love this kid, but he's a stupid kid. He's my stupid kid. And I love him. I love him. He's not so bright, but he's my kid. He's my kid. He wasted it all. Still my kid. He didn't represent you well. Still my son. Let's throw a party for him. Bring out the fatted calf. Let's party. He was lost and now he's found. He was dead and now he's alive again. He's back with me. This is my kid. So that's the younger son's scenario in the story. But the older brother's still in the story here. The other son gets to see this unbelievably compassionate side of his father. It takes place when the son comes back. He gets to see all of this. His younger brother has disgraced the family name. He's wasted what his father earned with his own time, with his own efforts. All the inheritance he gave his son was what he earned, not what the son earned. So the younger son wasted everything. All his dad's hard-earned money was just gone. He lived a life of shame and then came home expecting a place to live. After all of that living that he did, he came home expecting a place to live, and if that wasn't bad enough, he got what he asked for. He gets it. His father accepts him back. Look at verse 25. Now his older son was in the field, and as he came and drew near to the house, he heard music and dancing. So he called one of the servants and asked what these things meant. And he said to him, "Your brother has come, and because he has received him safe and sound, your father has killed the fatted calf." But he was angry and would not go in. Therefore his father came out and pleaded with him. There's a new problem now in the story. The older son had a change of heart, or the one son, the younger son, had a change of heart and came home. Now the other son has a bitter heart because of the father's kindness. "Dad, what'd you do?" "Well, I took him back." Did you miss the chapter about what he did with your money? Did you miss the chapter of what he did to the family name? Did you miss all those details? It's my boy. It's my son. So we're celebrating that he came back home. The older son is so upset about the situation that he refuses to go in. This is where we see Dad step in again. Dad's not off the clock yet. He's still Dad. His kid needs him. It's just this time it's the older son, not the younger son. This kid needs me now. So he leaves the celebration to try to teach his other son about grace. Now my other kid needs me. He needs to learn something too. When the older son sees his dad, he immediately pours his heart out to him. Dad comes out of the house. "Where's my older son?" He won't come in. Why? He's mad. Why is he so mad? Because you're doing such good things for his younger brother who doesn't deserve it. If he won't come in, I'm going out. I have to be with my kid. I'm going to go out to my older son. So the dad comes out to talk to his oldest son. Look at verse 29. So he answered and said to his father, "Lo, these many years I have been serving you. I never transgressed your commandment at any time, and yet you never gave me a young goat that I might make merry with my friends. But as soon as this son of yours came, who has devoured your livelihood with harlots, you killed the fatted calf for him." This son is bitter because after all his younger brother did, his dad still showed up for him. "I cannot believe you did this for him. He wastes his money on things you don't even approve of, and you celebrate when he gets home? I don't want to be part of this. It's wrong, Dad. It's wrong. Why do you love him so much?" That's my kid. That's my kid. How can he still be there for him after the shame he brought to his family? Why is he still giving him more after he wasted so much? This is the problem the older son has in his mind. Why are you still giving him everything when you already gave him everything? Why you still love him like that? That's when the dad turned the scenario around to show him that it's not because of who the son was that he treated him so good. It's because of who the father was that he's treating him so good. Look at verse 31. And he said to him, "Son, you are always with me, and all that I have is yours. It was right that we should make merry and be glad, for your brother was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found." The father could have told the oldest son that you're not getting anything till you get your act together. Your brother's alive and well. You should be happy. He could have done that. He could have said, fine, stay out here. Just go to your room. He could have done that. He could have made that dad move. But he doesn't do that. He could have shamed him for feeling the way he felt about his younger brother because the older son is in the wrong here. He could have done that, but he doesn't do that. Instead, he reminds him that he was loved. I love you, and all that I have is yours. I love you too. And everything I have is yours, and I'm still there for you. And he encouraged him to love in that same way. Now let's go love your brother just like that. Let's show him grace. Dads, we need you to be present for your families. We need you to be there for your families. Your children may be young or they may be grown up. Now, we may be talking about your grandchildren at this moment, but we need you to be there for your families. We need you to be present. We need you to invest in them now. Right now, we need you to make an investment in the life of your children or your grandchildren. Dads lay their lives down for the people they love. They show up. The father in this parable kept working in the lives of his children. He did not quit. I want to show you a verse that does apply to you. Usually we don't see it this way, but I want to show you this verse. Look at John 15 and verse 13. It says, "Greater love has no one than this, than to lay down one's life for his friends." This verse doesn't just carry the picture of martyrdom. It's not just laying your life as to die for Christ or something like that. It carries the picture of self-sacrifice for one another. Lay your life down for your friends. Lay your life down for those that you love. Dads, we need you to do that. Now, what's in it for me? Sometimes not a whole lot. Sometimes you don't get a whole lot out of that, except for watching the success of your children and your grandchildren and see that they become better people because of the time you invested into them. Dads, let me show you how important your influence is in this world. These are just a few statistics of what things look like when you're not present for your families. These woke me up. Just a few statistics I want to show you here. These woke me up when I saw them. This is a survey through the United States. Listen to these percentages. 63% of suicides are from fatherless homes. That's a pretty big number. 90% of runaway children are from fatherless homes. Just think about you as a dad. Think about the importance of a father in the home. 85% of all children with behavioral disorders are from fatherless homes. 71% of high school dropouts are from fatherless homes. 75% of all adolescent chemical abuse patients in drug treatment centers are from fatherless homes. And 85% of all youths in prison are from fatherless homes. Dads, we need you to be present. We need godly fathers. We need you to show up. We need you to be present because you have to be present to win. It's not enough to just say, I love you, so I'm going to be at work all the time to make sure you have the things I didn't have. Yeah, but what about time? A lot of kids spell time not L-O-V-E, but T-I-M-E. Did I get any time with Dad? No, he was always at work, but I had some nice things because he loved me so much. You got to be present to win. It's not about what you give your children. It's about what you invest in your children. You've got to be present to win. The mother's role is extremely important. Neither role is more important than the other. God created a balance in the home. We honor mothers and fathers. We have Mother's Day and Father's Day. Both roles are so important. And single moms, don't worry. This doesn't mean you fail on your own. God does incredible things through your faithfulness. Stay faithful. Please stay faithful. I've seen some amazing people come out of single mother homes. Because those moms, my hat goes off to you. Those moms aren't only just trying to do their role, they're trying to plug in Dad's role too, to the best of their ability. And they do a great job. So moms, single moms, Thank you. Thank you. We don't have a single mom's day, but plug it in right here. Thank you for what you do, because that is an amazing job. That's an amazing role you carry. So don't think, well, a Father's Day message has nothing to do with me. It's about investing time into your children, whoever you are. But fathers carry a huge impact in life. We need a generation who understands the importance of godly influence. Whether you're a father or not, please understand the importance of godly influence. We need you to be present in the life of the people that are coming up in the next generation. We need you to be present. Do not love your children so much that you work so hard for them but never spend any time with them. They need you. You got to be present. Love isn't the only ingredient in influence. Time is the ingredient also. You need to be there. The things you provide for your children will one day be gone, but the message you send them with will last forever. Yeah, I gave them a bunch of stuff. Where's that now? They lost it. They broke it. They gave it to their friends. They met a girl. It's all over. It's gone. How about the influence? The influence that you gave into their life. The message that you told them to go into the future with. Where's that? Still there. Still there. Because that didn't come with things. It came with life lessons. And you sent them into the future with something that they're not going to forget. They're not going to give up. Your heart for God is what your children will remember the most about you. Your heart for God. They will never forget how much you did or how little you did to connect them with God. Please grab this. They're never going to forget how much you did or how little you did to connect them with God. They're always going to remember that. So make sure you're doing everything you can to connect them with God, because they're not going to give that up. They're not going to lose that. Possessions will go away. That lesson will be there forever. I want to show you a story in the Old Testament that I find kind of humorous. And then I want to show you how God's reaction to the people here. God surprises all of Israel with an audible appearance. He does this once in the Old Testament, and I think this is great. You know how a lot of times we would love to hear God talk out loud? Maybe not. Maybe you wouldn't. Oh, I'd love to hear that. Let's take it from the people that did. They got to hear God speak audibly. The whole nation. It wasn't just one person God spoke to. He spoke to millions at one time. He speaks to them. In Deuteronomy chapter 5, all of Israel hear the voice of God, and they never want to experience it like that again. Never again. They all get to hear it and like, no. Moses, make sure that doesn't go down again. We heard the voice of God. Cross it off the list. Let's not go back. We never want to go through that again. They recognized that God was holy and that he showed them mercy by allowing them to hear his voice and live to talk about it. We heard the holiness and the power and the might of God in his voice. And it terrified us because we see ourselves for who we are, and we got a glimpse of who he is just by hearing his voice. Let's not do that again. Thank you for letting us live. We heard how great you are and how holy you are, and we got to live through it. Thank you, God. Thank you. Look at verse 26 of Deuteronomy chapter 5. For who is there of all flesh who has heard the voice of the living God speaking from the midst of the fire as we have and lived? Nobody gets to do this. They were grateful that such a holy God did not consume them in their unworthy state. You could have killed us and you had the right to do it, and you did not do it. So then they go to Moses and they tell Moses that he should, in the future, you go listen. And then you come back and tell us what he said. We're good with that. You go listen to the voice of God. And then relay the message. That's how we want to do it from here on out. We don't want to go through that again. Finally, they understand that God is a God who deserves their utmost respect. Moses agrees to the conditions, and he comes back with God's response to their wishes. We never want to hear him again. We want to hear from him. We don't want to hear him, because that's terrifying. Moses, you listen, come back and tell us. So Moses goes and talks to God, and he comes back with this message. Verse 28, then the Lord heard the voice of your words when you spoke to me, and the Lord said to me, I have heard the voice of the words of this people which they have spoken to you. They are right in all that they have spoken. Oh, that they had such a heart in them that they would fear me and always keep all my commandments, that it might be well with them and with their children forever. When we have a heart of obedience, it has a generational effect. God wanted them to keep this kind of heart because it would be contagious to their children. Yeah, I wish they had that heart always, where they saw me for who I am. I wish they always had that heart, because then it would pass on to their children. It would go on to the next generation. Your relationship with God does not only affect you, it affects everybody that you are in contact with. Your relationship with God is not just a personal thing. It affects those around you. When your family sees God's attributes shining from your life, they're drawn to his love also. Fathers, God is asking you to pass the torch to your children. Whether you start today or whether you started years ago, he's asking you to pass that torch to your children. Your descendants mean the world to God. Yeah, but I'll never get to meet generations from me. But he will. He's still going to be there with your great, 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 great grandchildren. You might not be on the scene anymore, but he's going to be right by their side. The same God that walks with you today is going to walk with your descendants. He's going to be right with them. So what he's asking you to do today is, would you plug my influence into their life? Because down the line, I'm still going to be there. You might not be there, but I am. I'm going to be there with them. Help me right now. Help them. Even if you're never going to meet them, be there for them. You must be present to win. But I'm not physically going to be present, but you're still going to be there, based on the message that you send forward with the children right under you. He's still going to be there with the people you never get to meet. Same God. Same God. Your descendants mean everything to him. He loved them even before they were born. He loves them, and he's going to walk by their side. He promised you. Here's a promise that just blows my mind. My great, 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 great grandchildren, the God that I have a relationship right now with, says, hey, yeah, your life is going to pass away, but I'll take care of them. I'll be there for them. Don't worry about your family. I got it. I got it. That's a really cool thought. That's a good thought. But he's asking us to help them by the way we lead. Look at Deuteronomy 6 and verse 2. That you may fear the Lord your God, to keep all his statutes and his commandments, which I command you and your son and your grandson, all the days of your life, that your days may be prolonged. God cares about your legacy. He cares about it. One day there will be people on this earth that I'm related to, but I never had a chance to meet because, well, I'm not on this earth. My life is going to end. But there will be people that I'm related to that I never get to meet. They may never have been able to spend a moment in time with me. But I want them to know that I poured myself into them by the way I lived my life, and influence the next generation to chase after God. And that's why they know God, is because I poured my life into the next generation so it would get to them. They may not get to meet me, but I want them to know of me. And I want them to know that I did that for them, because I love people that I've never met. It's my family. And I want them to know that. I know I can't do this by simply wishing the best for them, though. I must be present to win. I can't just say, hey, good luck, guys. Go chase after God. You got this. That's not enough. I've got to put my life into their life. I've got to lead by example. I've got to teach them God's word and help them grow. My life has to radiate God's character. Obedience to God's word must be seen in everything that I do. It's got to be seen in everything you do. Look at verse 7 of Deuteronomy 6. You shall teach them diligently to your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. A godly life has to be intentional. It is not just going to happen. Oh, I have God in my life, so I'm just going to ooze godliness. It's not just going to happen. It's not just going to happen. It's an intentional thing. It doesn't accidentally happen. Your focus has to be to chase after God. Or your children's focus will not be to chase after God. It has to be intentional. You have to work at it. It doesn't just come natural. You might love God, but to be involved in that relationship, that takes work, just like every other relationship. Your kids need to see you do that. They need to see that. When you fall and mess up from time to time, and will you do that? Yeah. If you got really little kids, they're probably thinking, there's no way Dad will ever mess up. He's the greatest. He can do anything. There's coming a point when they realize, wow, Dad's human. Dad falls and messes up too. And when that happens, Dad, apologize. Yeah, but it's my kid. Then get down on their level and apologize. I've done this. I remembered each one of my kids. I didn't mess up just once. I messed up 3 times in my life. Yeah, I know. It surprised me too. But 3 times. And I remember each of those times getting down on my knee and looking at a little kid and saying, I was wrong. I need you to forgive me. Can you do that? And not one of my kids, well, I'll go think about it. Not one of them did that. They all just hugged me and said, yes, I forgive you. Like, I need to do it just like you do it. I need it when people mess up in my life, I need to do it just like you do it. But I apologize to my kids, and I encourage you dads, when you mess up, get down on their level and apologize. Let them know you were wrong. Let them know you handled things wrong. When that dad voice booms, when your kids are in trouble and then they go into hiding, those times, and you realize you yelled and you shouldn't have, you should have handled it a different way, call them all together and say, hey, that scary feeling you just had? I was wrong. I was wrong. I should have handled that better. I should have handled it like Christ would have handled it. Humble yourself and be there for your kids. Our children will carry a message into a time and place that we are never going to experience. They are going farther down the road than you are. Send them with the message of God. Please send them with that. What's the message you're currently sending the next generation with? The 2 sons in Jesus' parable knew that their father's character was a godly character. They knew he would be there and they could approach him at any time. Both sons knew that. They could talk to Dad at any time. His grace, his love, and his forgiveness were always intact. They knew that was true about their dad. The very last verse of this parable tells us why the father behaved the way he did. The oldest son was upset that his younger son or his younger brother was shown grace after everything he did. The father's last words not only explain why he did it, but they also showed the legacy that he was trying to pass on to his children. So why did he do it? Why did he take the youngest son back? It's in 3 words in the last verse of the parable. Right here, Luke 15:32. It was right. It was right. Dads, we need you to help produce a generation of people who will follow God with their whole heart. What if it gets tough? You do it. Why? Why don't we have all the pleasures that the wicked prosper with? Why don't we have that, Dad? Why do we keep following God and we don't have all the luxuries in life like people that don't follow God? Why don't we have that? Because it's right. It's right. All the things that they have will one day vanish away. But we will still have the love of the Father. So we're going to do it because it's right. That's a powerful message to send with your children down the road. Do it because it's right. Do it because of the love of our Father. Be that kind of parent to your children. We need you to lead by example. But it's not enough to just tell them to do something. You must be present to win. You've got to show the example. You got to live by the example. Don't just buy them stuff. Sit down with the stuff. Play with them. Pour your life into their life. Teach them how to do things. But in everything you teach them, plug God in. Plug God in. Your influence will impact the people in your life. And it will also impact people that you will never get to meet. Be close to God. Being close to God isn't just good advice to pass along. You must be present to win. So in your life right now, in the relationship you have with God right now, I'm going to throw this out. Stay close to God. But I'm going to tell you, in order to stay close to God, you must be present to win. It's not just going to be, yeah, I'm close to God. Why? Because I'm saved. No, be close in that relationship, not just have the relationship. Be close, and you must be present to win. And we need to help each other stay strong. Dads, happy Father's Day. But understand your influence. Those statistics that I read, those were eye-opening to me. Man, if dads would just show up, do you see how many issues would be solved if godly dads were just plugged into the situation? That also goes to moms. Lead by example. Lead by example. Happy Father's Day. Go barbecue. Have somebody barbecue for you. Go out to a restaurant. Eat peanut butter and jelly, whatever your tradition is. Have a great Father's Day. But please hang on. Those moments are going to go away. But please listen to this and apply it to your life. Impact the generation that's coming after us, because we're sending them with the message. Make sure it's the message. Chase after God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, because the next generation will prosper if we will pass that message and they will apply it to their lives.